Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth Podcast. I'm Anish Gupta, and today we are doing episode 3 of the QB Whisperer series. You guys showed a lot of love on the first two episodes. We did Josh Allen, we did Kyler Murray. Now we're going to be doing the rookie quarterback, Joe Burrow. We're going to be talking about his electrifying rookie year. First off, before I want to get into this, I want to say prayers up to him. Obviously, if you're watching this, you probably saw the injury. It was a terrible one, and obviously, prayers up to Joe Burrow. I'm sure he'll be fine. He'll be back at it better than ever. And Bengals fans, it's a bump in the road, but a lot to look forward to, especially with this guy as your quarterback. So, I mean, let's get started with some obviously with some context. We're going to start off with, and then we'll talk about his strengths, his weaknesses, and is he a franchise quarterback? So, again, some context coming in. I mean, he was a third stringer at Ohio State. Then he comes to LSU in the 2018 season. But let's talk about his 2019 season. So, I mean, one could argue that it was the best college football season of all time. I mean, 60 touchdowns. He broke the record. And against some top competition, too, against the SEC. I believe he played four to six top 10 teams in the entire NCAA, which was amazing. And he was as accurate as anybody in the pocket. He became the clear-cut number one pick. And, there were rumors about the whole tank for Tua thing. Well, he became the clear-cut number one pick. And what he did at LSU was he always kept the play in front of him. He would always navigate the pocket really well. And I think that's what made him the clear-cut number one pick. So, he comes into a dysfunctional Cincinnati Bengals team. But the first game he played, he was exceptional. I mean, they lost, but it was a 13-16 game, and it slowed down. But we all remember that touchdown run he had. I believe it was on the second drive, but he. I think the best part about that game was that 3-minute drive on the very last drive of the game, right? No timeouts, and he made some key plays. He put his team in position to win it. Obviously, Randy Bullock had one of the biggest choke kicks of the entire year, but I mean, it was an amazing drive because it was all passing plays. And I think my favorite play would probably be that 3rd and 8 to Tyler Boyd, but it just showed how calm, cool, and collected he was. I mean, there were times where, I was worried, is he going to give up a set? Is he going to take an unnecessary sack? Is he going to, have a bad interception? But no, he played really good that game. Obviously, there was that one pick to Melvin Ingram on the screen, but it just shows that he's learning, and that's what rookie quarterbacks do, especially, with the number one overall pick. There's some big expectations. You're going to make mistakes, but I think he realized that. And, he took it into account, and he came back and really executed on that drive. I thought it was one of the best drives all year, and it should have been a game-winning drive had it not been for that missed field goal, because I think they would have won in overtime. They had momentum coming in. But, next game at Cleveland, I mean, he went 5 for 5 on 4th down, and he was asked to throw the ball, I believe, 61 times, and he still had 37 completions. And it was a really good game. I think over 300 yards, no picks. So it was, another sign of good things to come. And granted, 2-6-1, or technically 2-7-1, but I'm not going to count the Washington loss. But he's been very good, like against Pittsburgh, no turnovers. I thought that was very incredible. And we've seen so many of these good quarterbacks have turnovers against Pittsburgh. He didn't. And, unfortunately, it sucks that he probably won't win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think we all know who that award will go to. But, I mean, let's just look at what he had. He was on pace to break the rookie passing yards record and the rookie completions record. And he was tied with the entire NFL for most 300-yard games with 5. And his stats were 2,688 yards, 13 touchdowns, 5 picks. Now, the 2,688 yards is actually top 5 in passing yards, top 4. It would have been top 3 because Tom Brady basically played an extra game compared to him, not including the Washington game. So he was technically top 3 in passing yards as a rookie. I mean, that is incredible. And I think, to kind of move on a little bit quicker, but like he doesn't force anything, right? Like kind of moving on to his strengths. His pocket presence is tremendous. Like he will make plays with his arms and legs. And we've seen it in constant games, right? Both times against Cleveland, I thought, as a Browns fan, I watched both games in full. He was constantly making one play after another, whether it would be, a quick HB angle route over the middle or a deep sideline route to T. Higgins. It was always there, and he was never especially with the blitzes, he was never afraid to pick it up. And I think his he's still learning, I think, NFL defenses, but the thing I saw at LSU was he was always picking up blitzes, especially with, I think, Joe Brady as helping him with his coaching, right? And I think that to move on, Joe Brady helped him with his footwork. It's impeccable. I mean, like he does this little heel click thing right before he throws it deep, and I don't know why, but it works, and it helps him throw absolute dimes. But like his footwork in the pocket is just tremendous. He's never fully set until he needs to be, and he's never afraid to step up in the pocket and throw. I think that with a lot of quarterbacks, we see them always try and throw on the run, never really get their feet set. But I think he realizes that, okay, if I'm going to make a certain throw, I need to keep my feet in a certain way so I can get this ball out. And over the offseason, it was clear that he worked on it a lot, and he was able to make some great plays out of it. And I think because of that, because of his footwork, he doesn't force the ball anywhere, right? So he takes his time, he takes what the defense gives him, and that's why he doesn't throw many interceptions. He only has 5 on the year. For a rookie quarterback, that's very impressive, right? What are we, week 11 in, and only 5 interceptions? I mean, like, for example, Russell Wilson has 8, right? I believe, coming in to what we have. I mean, Carson Wentz has 13, and he's been a pro quarterback for 5 years, but Joe Burrow has 5, and the 5 interceptions he's had, we could look at all 5. Some of them weren't really that bad. I mean, like, again, the one to Melvin Ingram, okay, that was a bad one, but I think for him, he's not trying to always force it downfield. He's taking what the defense gives him, and that's why on a 1st and 10, it's not always going to be this deep 30-yard bomb that some quarterbacks always look for. He'll take an 8-yard pass over the middle. He's never afraid to do that. And I think with the plethora of receivers that he's had, he knows each of his receivers' strengths, right? So, for example, T. Higgins is more of a downfield threat versus same thing with AJ Green versus, Tyler Boyd is more of a number one, will get you any route, a dig or a crossing route. And, Giovanni Bernard out the backfield, quick screens, that type of thing. Even with his tight ends, Drew Sample, more of a quick guy versus, obviously, before he tore his Achilles, C.J. Osama was a downfield type of tight end. So he knows his receivers, and he knows which players need to make which plays. Even at LSU, he did that, right, with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. So it just shows how when he's a smart quarterback, he'll take what the defense gives him, and he also knows his offensive playmakers. He's also very accurate. Again, he'll throw it in tight windows, especially on the sideline. I think him throwing, he gives his receivers the ability to, make these, toe drags and all these deep sideline catches and stuff. And it just shows how good he can really be. That's why his completion percentage is 65.8. That's really good for a rookie quarterback, in my opinion. I think, at the pro level, I would like 67 and above, but what he's doing right now, it's been incredible considering what he has at the O-line position. But there are some weaknesses and concerns, right? So, for example, he does take a little bit too many hits. So I know he's gotten sacked 32 times, and his O-line has been god awful. Like, oh my God, it's been terrible. I feel for the guy, and obviously, people were concerned that he would get hurt. And, obviously, I might show the play, but it was really sad. I mean, just he got basically sandwiched, and it wasn't that play wasn't his fault, but I think, it was bound to happen where one of these plays where he was going to take an unnecessary hit. But even at times, right, he'll just try and take the QB draw, run up the middle. And we saw it, I believe it was against the Eagles, where he took a really hard hit and, he got right back up. But as a rookie quarterback, okay. But as you keep going on, it's a little bit harder to get up after each hit, right? So he needs to be a little bit more careful there, right? And even with at LSU, right, in college, he would try to make edge rushers miss, and it would work because, in college, I think it's a little bit easier. They're not as heavy and stuff. So, he would try and shrug off a defender and then launch it downfield. But I think that's the problem here. In the NFL, it's harder to do that, right? So I think that's why he takes some of the sacks are on him in that regard. So I think he's trying to do a little bit too much sometimes, but so I think for him, what I would like, obviously I can't recommend anything, but what I would say is, not everything has to be, an avoided sack, right? Never be afraid to throw the ball away. And, he does that, but I think maybe a little bit more. It's fine to be a little bit conservative, or even, more draw plays, I think would really help this Bengals offense. And I think obviously with Joe Mixon being out, it was kind of concerning, but I think those would really help him, considering the fact that this offensive line is terrible. Like it is so bad. I feel for him. And in fact, we've seen it with quarterbacks around the league. If you get more than 2.5 seconds to throw, right? Most quarterbacks completion percentage skyrockets. So give him time and he will be great. I think another thing is back to the receivers. While he does, throw it into tight windows, there are at times where he puts his receivers in bad situations. So when he's throwing across the middle, he'll throw it a little bit too high for his receivers at times, and that'll cause unnecessary hits. Like there was a play 2nd and 2 to John Ross where he throws it a little bit too high and he just gets popped. So I think for him, it's just putting his receivers in better position. But I will say back at LSU, there were some plays where, it was like a simple curl route, but he would throw it early rather than late. So, again, I'm kind of going back and forth with the strengths and weaknesses here, but he never throws it late. Like he's always early or on time with his throws, and I think that's a big thing considering that some quarterbacks, especially rookie ones, will always try and pump fake or try and get that perfect read. But for him, it isn't really a perfect read. It's just what the defense gives him. And I think that's part of that overall strength I was saying, right? So if it's a deep curl and I might be able to show the play. It was back at LSU, but it's he waits a little bit, but he throws it about 5 seconds earlier. So instead of trying to get him at the 34-yard line, he catches it around the 29. So though it's 5 yards back, it's a way better throw in a way better circumstance than something deeper because he gives the receiver a better chance to the ball while also preventing a chance at an interception. So that's one thing. Now, another weakness would be, I think, it's just a whole NFL versus college thing. I think he's still getting used to some disguised coverages, especially with corners dropping back. So there was this one play against Cleveland where he tries to hit A.J. Green up the seam, but he doesn't realize that Terrence Mitchell comes in for, I think it was a cloud or just Terrence Mitchell covering a flat. But, Terrence Mitchell comes down and he doesn't see the bite, basically a disguised coverage. And, I mean, unfortunately for him, Mitchell dropped the pick, but it just shows how you got to be careful with NFL defenses being more disguised. I think with him and LSU, he just knew it. I mean, I think Joe Brady really helped him understand college defenses because they're not as, technical and fundamental because they have more time to prepare in the NFL, correct? So I think with him, you just got to recognize, man versus zone at times, especially the zone coverages for quarterbacks. That's why veteran quarterbacks do a lot better against zones because they know where the tendencies of corners and linebackers, especially in the slot where they tend to go, which is why they do better against zone coverage. And why you should run zone against rookies and run a little bit more man against veteran quarterbacks. So I think that would probably be my overall thing in terms of strengths and weaknesses. But now, obviously, the big question would be, is he a franchise guy? And, I'm going to say yes, because look, there's another concern, right? With those hits, is he going to be now a little bit more conservative with his leg? Because look, the play was very scary and his leg honestly popped back in, I think, and it just looked so bad. So we've seen quarterbacks like RG3 who, obviously was a lot more mobile and, a running quarterback, obviously be a lot more conservative. But now I'm kind of worried, right? Is Joe Burrow still going to be this, not be afraid to take the hits and take those QB draws? I think he'll be fine because the reason why I say he's a franchise quarterback is, one, he's a leader. His teammates really ride for him, man. You saw it when he was carted off the field. I mean, everyone was there. And it just shows because as a rookie, he's really representing this franchise. And I think the Bengals with Andy Dalton, it just didn't have that same spark or same fire, right? Andy Dalton was a very solid quarterback for around 9 years. He got them to the playoffs 5 times, but there wasn't that spark. There wasn't that it factor, right? That, something that draws in fans. With Joe Burrow, he did. I'm not a hater of the Bengals or anything like that, but as a casual NFL fan, you're going to be interested in what, he does because he makes some real highlight plays and, he's got so much potential there. And another thing I want to say is his confidence. I think that's the best part about him is there was one thing that Chris Collinsworth said on the PFF podcast, so he gets hit by the Eagles, right? I'm talking about that Eagle hit I was mentioning. And it was a no call, and I think it was pretty questionable. But he gets up, and I believe he tells Fletcher Cox or Brandon Graham. I can't remember. I think he told Brandon Graham, and he said, one day when I'm the GOAT, I'm going to get that call. Now, that's a pretty bold statement to make, but it just shows how he is confident in himself, and I think he's confident in his team, which makes the teammates ride with him more, right? And I know his offensive line is bad. He doesn't have the most talented roster, but you can see how this team rallies against him. And I thought, the win against the Titans, it was really a fun upset just around the NFL to watch because his teammates rode for him. And I think even, we've seen AJ Green talk about him like that. And the best part is none of these receivers are always asking him to throw. Like, he spreads the ball really well. And man, this franchise, you've got one. I really do, because I think the second game, I was already convinced he was better than Baker Mayfield. And I'm a Browns fan, and I got to admit it. He was already looking better. The sky's the limit for Joe Burrow. I think, like, especially as a rookie, you keep your turnovers down. That's usually the problem for most guys. And he's not turnover prone. And, again, I expressed my concerns. Obviously, for a rookie, I'm going to have more concerns than a guy like Josh Allen or Kyler Murray. But I think this guys, I think Joe Burrow is going to represent the NFL. He's going to be one of those top guys. So I think to kind of wrap this episode up, obviously, prayers to Joe Burrow. This was really sad for the NFL. Obviously, you guys know how much potential he had and how he was lighting up the league, especially, continuing what he did at LSU. I thought that year for them was magical. I mean, you're seeing what they're doing now. Obviously, it was a loss of talent, but it was just a magical ride, and he was continuing it in the NFL. Prayers up to him. Really, I think he's going to be fine. I think we're all rooting for him, and he can really take this Bengals franchise to higher heights than what, a guy like Andy Dalton could. We saw it with Patrick Mahomes. So let's hope. But let me know what you guys think about Joe Burrow in the comments. Was there anything I missed? Were there any strengths I missed? Any weaknesses I missed? Was there any highlight play that you wanted to shout out that I missed? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, we just hit 300 subs, so thank you guys so much for that. Road to 500 is on the way. Again, follow our socials down below in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time.